President Trump says House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer want to discuss coronavirus relief again. In a tweet today, the president was critical of the leading Democrats, citing previous negotiations with the White House, saying they were, quote, hardliners. President Trump signed a coronavirus relief executive order Saturday as negotiations between the Democrats and administration officials collapsed. According to President Trump Sunday, Pelosi and Schumer are holding the relief hostage for their partisan demands.
I hear that's what the Democrats want to do now. They want to look, they were not interested in doing what they had to do. Their big point of discussion was bailouts. They wanted to bail out poorly run Democrat states. Like, you know, I could name them. I could give them to you right now, but why do it? Because you know the same states as I do, and cities. And we're not going to do that. We'll help, but we're not going to do numbers. They talked about a number of $1 trillion. We can't do that.
Pelosi and Schumer have voiced opposition to the executive order and have called on leading Republicans to reopen talks. In the meantime, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin saying the White House is eager to resume those stimulus talks with Democrat leaders. In a CNBC interview today, the secretary said Republicans are willing to put more aid money on the table to coax Dems back to the negotiating table. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said the White House rejected an offer over the weekend to pass a $2 trillion relief bill. Despite that, Mnuchin said he seemed optimistic he could reach common ground with House leaders.
There's a deal to do if the Democrats are reasonable and want to compromise. And if their attitude is, you know, we'd rather give you nothing than agree on things, then we're not going to get a deal. But I heard Pelosi over the weekend and Schumer, and I think they're willing to compromise. So, again, if we can get a fair deal, we'll do it this week.
And Mnuchin declined to comment on when those negotiations would resume. Well, White House officials are weighing in on the president's latest executive orders as pushback from Democrats on Capitol Hill unfolds. Here's more on their remarks.
In the midst of congressional deadlocks on stimulus, members from the White House rushed to defend the president, including all 4 of his executive orders. Regarding the president's payroll tax holiday, economic advisor Larry Kudlow said the Trump administration will take every step possible to forgive the deferral after it expires. He clarified, however, that the payroll tax overall will not be cut permanently or affect Social Security or Medicaid.
Well, look, it's a deferral. It's not a tax rate change. I understand it will be challenged in the courts. We'll see what happens. A lot of this, Dana, has to do with repurposing. We have a lot of extra money that has not yet been spent.
Kudlow added the Supreme Court has allowed the Trump administration to reallocate funds in the past, a matter which critics are already speculating may draw legal challenges. White House trade advisor Navarro says, however, all of the orders are legally sound.
The problem here is Capitol Hill, the swamp, the two houses that are too far apart. I mean, the Lord and the Founding Fathers created executive orders because of partisan bickering and divided government. That's what we have here.
Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin has echoed similar support, issuing a warning to Democrats who try to toy with the president's orders. Mnuchin said Democrats would, quote, have a lot of explaining to do and would ultimately be responsible for withholding federal assistance to Americans. The Treasury Secretary added, in regards to unemployment benefits, it's a fair compromise since lawmakers also put out a 2-week extension. President Trump says the strategy to lowering the price is to incentivize to getting those back to work.